What Really Happened with your host, Mike Rivero. The history the government hopes you never learn. Here is your host, Michael Rivero.
And aloha, America. Welcome to our show today. It is Thursday, the 4th of April. And sure happy it's Thursday, sure happy it's Thursday, sure happy it's Thursday. We have a lot to talk about today. The phone lines are open, 800-313-9443. And I'm still a little bit under the weather, and I apologize for that, but it's just the way things are. Actually, I'm dealing with, a lot of depression, actually. I've been doing the website for 25 years. I've been doing radio for 12 years. And nothing has really changed. The evil people are still in charge of all the money. They're still doing evil things. We just had a revelation where the entire corporate media was exposed for lying to the American people for 2 years about Russian collusion. I haven't seen any of those people get fired yet. And it's a little bit frustrating. All right, today's the anniversary of the assassination of Martin Luther King. And like so many other events in American history, there are reasons to think that the official story that James Earl Ray, a crazed lone nut assassin, really was not responsible. He basically confessed at the urging of his court-appointed attorney, and then he immediately recanted, and the judge said, no, we got you now. You confessed. That's it. You're going to jail forever. But there were ballistic tests which indicated the rifle that was planted on James Earl Ray could not have been the rifle that killed Martin Luther King. And so I've put up this article which shows that James Earl Ray was shot from a direction other than the boarding house where James Earl Ray was located. So it's another big fat government lie. Don't you get tired of all these lies? Don't you get tired of all the bovine excrement that is being thrown at you? I sure do. Okay, over at the New York Slimes, they're dropping hints that the unredacted Mueller report may be more damaging for Donald Trump than Barr says it is. They're so desperate. They are so desperate to grab something out of this thing, and they just can't let it go. They can't let it go that this was all a huge, huge lie. They don't want to let it go. They just says, please, give us this. Give us the full report. We know there's something in there that we can use to get Donald Trump. I don't think so. I think the full report should come out. I think it's going to harm more Democrats than it will Republicans. But apparently the Democrats are desperate. They're just coming on out, just saying, yes, give us this report. We know there's something in there. All right, we're going to take a phone call. John in Tennessee. Aloha, John. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hey, Mike. I want to speak to your depression, frustration, whatever it is, because we all have it. Are you up to speed on this whole subpoena Trump's tax records for the last 6 years?
Yeah.
Okay, so I just heard the audio clip of Nancy Pelosi where she says, it says the Secretary of the Treasury shall, not may, shall give us any information. So what's really bugging me and a lot of RBN listeners, because I hear it on other programs, it's this whole dog and pony show with Trump versus the deep state. one week we think he's battling them. On the other week we think he's not. We hear that he was handing out, whatever he was handing out at Bush's funeral, which is like a truce. Please don't go after my family. I'll comply. You know what I mean? He's for the war in Yemen. I mean, which annoys the heck out of you and me. But I'm just wondering because, Nancy Pelosi, you want to talk about take the gloves off? Rachel Maddow, remember that? I want his tax returns, all these people. I want his tax. Why? So you can find out he's bloody rich? So what? So like I said, I really do think it's a dog and pony show because I'm wondering if all these Congress critters, even Democrats, like you, we all talk about the military-industrial complex. They all get rich off these wars. That's why the Democrats are with the Zionists and the neocon. So you wonder if Trump's policies is actually making some of these Democrats rich, and this whole thing is a ruse. Because it's really going to come down to who's the Democratic nominee in 2020 as to whether or not Trump wins.
No, I absolutely agree with you, and I still think Hillary is going to step on in, and she's already starting to pick off some of the other Democratic front runners like Joe Biden. But again, Rachel Maddow, she hoisted on her own petard over that whole income tax return situation. She got a leaked copy of 1 year of Trump's tax returns. There was nothing in there at all. And that kind of hammered her a little bit.
Well, if Trump's ego is what Trump's ego is, and the House or Nancy Pelosi or whoever subpoenas his IRS records, if they get him, the guy's probably going to go apoplectic. Like I said, if it's not, if this whole thing's not a ruse, which I'm starting to think it is, because I agree with the other callers. The borders are wide open. They've been wide open for 2 years. They're not stopping anybody from coming in here, and wealthy people are using illegal labor as cheap labor. And these people are sucking on the welfare teat, and they're getting away. They're getting checks from the government. The government's insolvent and bankrupt. I don't even know where these people get money. But they could just pour in here and get bussed off to some sanctuary city or any city and apply for welfare. People help them do it, and then they're getting a check of food stamps. And the government's insolvent. So it's not a matter of this thing will collapse. It's just, you and Claire, I'd take a vacation from it. Honestly, we all have to take a vacation from it because, like you said, if Hillary's running, that's just toxic. It's absolutely toxic. Like when they ran Bob Dole for president, everybody knew you put Bob Dole up there, he's going to lose. So, two wings of the same bird kind of thing. They go back and forth between the parties. So I agree with you. I'm frustrated like you are. I'm tired. I'm sick of the fact that the country's not getting any more patriotic or closer to the republic that it was. But honestly, I'm getting real sick and tired of the dog and pony show. And I think Trump, being an entertainer, first and foremost, is probably, he was probably selected for the role.
Well, I think Trump selected himself for the role here, and there were clearly elements within the GOP that did not want him to be the president, and certainly the deep state is scared of him, and they're constantly attacking him. But I don't know why he's not proving to be a significant threat to the deep state, and I'm very disappointed in him.
He's Teflon Don. Any bad news that comes out on him, it can't touch him, right?
Yep.
All right, Mike. Well, you have a good show and get your health back, all right?
All right. Thanks an awful lot. And you're right. I do need a vacation. Claire needs a vacation. We're going to switch over to Steve Elkins. Aloha, Steve. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Well, Mike, I see some commerce to be made, kind of like Kenneth Starr did with the Starr Report. I think Simon & Schuster will probably get their hands on this Mueller report and put it in print form. We can all go rush out and buy it. Somebody's going to make some nice money on that. But I did see on CNN today, it was interesting. I had to flip around a little bit and watch the fake news and see what these guys were talking about. And you're right. They really want this report. They're going to keep reading it until they can find something or manipulate it to be something of a Russian collusion. But there was a representative from Michigan, from the 8th district, Congress district there, by the name of, if she's a Democrat, by the name of Slotkin, Slotkin. And evidently she's not heard that the Mueller report says there's no Russian collusion. She's concerned that there still is a Russian collusion, that they're meddling in our foreign affairs and our elections. And she's looking to get some new legislation passed to make sure that Russia doesn't, once again, meddle with our elections. It's amazing, these people. It just amazes me that they just refuse to listen. And you can give them 1,000 pages to read, and again, they're just going to keep reading and reading. Actually, they're not going to read it. They'll probably have one of their old flunky aides read it, because they don't read the bills that are 1,000 pages long. So, yeah. It's kind of it's embarrassing, but you think they would just kind of shut up and go away, because they should be embarrassed, because this has been nearly 2 years and $30 million, but they just want to continue to try to manufacture or find something they can use against this president. It's quite embarrassing. It is embarrassing.
Well, what's really embarrassing is the fact that we have Israel clearly interfering in our internal political system, and nobody will talk about that.
Yep. Yeah, exactly the point. Well made there. Yes, Israel's allowed to meddle, and that's why every presidential candidate flies to Israel to get the blessings.
Yep.
And which is interesting is that Donald Trump, unless he messes up with Israel, will be a shoo-in. Should be, because why would Israel want to disrupt everything and start over with somebody fresh? They'll keep their puppet in there and get what they want. So unless he disrupts something and makes some problems with Israel, he'll probably get right back in 2020.
I'm not so sure about that. If Hillary Clinton decides to step on in, I think Israel's going to throw their support behind her. The problem with a second-term president is he doesn't owe anybody anything. He's in his last term of office. He can't run for re-election. He doesn't need anybody's support. He's free to be what he thinks he ought to be, and that's what makes him dangerous to his supporters. So I think that if Hillary steps on in, they're going to throw their support behind her. Anything else, Steve?
Well, one thing she could promise Israel is the wars that they want in the Middle East. And they would probably grab that up and say, yes, they would probably go behind her, because they haven't got those wars kicked off yet, the wars that we're supposed to be fighting for on behalf of Israel. So if she could promise that and follow through with that, they probably would go with Hillary. Probably would.
I think they would. That's
it, Mike. Get feeling better, buddy.
All right. I'll try. I really do need a rest. Anyway, we're going to do a shout-out to our on-air affiliates who are just now rejoining our network. Getting on back to news, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez claims that she's the new Hillary Clinton. And apparently she's doing that because she can't handle criticism. She gets upset. She gets triggered. And she's out there saying that she is the new Hillary Clinton. Well, she may be. I mean, she's out there. She's got this abrasive style. She's out there with this very aggressive political style. I don't like her, to be very honest. I don't think she's very good at all. Apparently, there is a Federal Elections Commission complaint alleging that Ocasio-Cortez operated a subsidy scheme, saying that Alexandria and her campaign manager ran a subsidy scheme, and apparently Joe Biden has released a video apology via Twitter. And over at Fox News, Guy Benson has reacted to this, but apparently there are concerns that Alexandria may have cheated just a little tiny bit in the previous election here. Okay. AOC is facing another FEC complaint over her alleged stealth web of sketchy PACs, political action committees. Apparently she's not doing very well. with those as well. She cheated, is basically what it is, and she got caught cheating here. Alrighty. Apparently, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is dominating the news with the demands for socializing the economy. She's pushing socialism. And Bob Murphy has explained that her Green New Deal makes no sense on economic grounds, and even for Keynesians, it would be nonsensical to implement such a program. But AOC thinks that's going to be just wonderful, where we're going to have all that money, we're going to have all that green. It's a disaster. The Green New Deal is an epic fail waiting to happen, and she's out there pushing it. By the way, somebody did an interesting little study. They went out on college campuses and talked to students who were in favor of socialism, and then they said, well, okay, as a socialist experiment, we're going to take your grade point average, which is like 3.5, 4.0, and we're going to share it with all these other students who are not doing quite as well. And at that point, all these students said that, yeah, maybe socialism wasn't such a good idea after all. Okay. All right. Now, a little bit of good news. Congress has voted to withdraw U.S. support from the Yemen war. This is coming from the House of Representatives. They voted in favor of ending U.S. involvement in the war in Yemen, but the bill is expected to be vetoed by President Donald Trump, as the White House cites serious constitutional concerns. Well, I don't know where they're coming from on that one, because according to the Constitution, it is Congress that gets to declare war or end it, not the White House. The president just doesn't get to go off and make war wherever he feels like doing it. That's dangerously close to I am the state. Anyway, the House voted 247 to 175 in favor of the resolution to direct President Trump to end U.S. military involvement in the war within 30 days and to end support for the Saudi-led coalition that it's been backing. I would like to see that happen. I would really like to see that happen. Those poor people of Yemen have suffered so much from this war. And it's time for them to not have to do any suffer anymore, be killed anymore, have their homes destroyed anymore. Why is it being done? Okay. Now, apparently, the White House is offering to pump money into Venezuela after the regime change. This is coming from the Christian Science Monitor. Trump's top economic advisor, Larry Kudlow, is revealing the administration is already working with banks internationally in plans to greatly increase U.S. investment in Venezuela if there is a regime change. Basically, what they're doing is they're offering a bribe. You know, get rid of Maduro, put in the guy that we like, and we'll give you lots of money. And this is in keeping with the Trump's administration belief that it can shut down the economy of a disobedient nation and then miraculously turn things around at a moment's notice once they comply. We have to take a break here for a commercial break, and we'll be right back. And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show. We're talking about Venezuela. And the reality is that this attempted coup d'etat is not going well for the United States. Juan Guaido can't muster any significant popular support. The military is not behind him. He's been physically attacked by Maduro supporters. The military is still loyal to Maduro. And it's rather difficult to say how this guy's going to pull off the regime change in Venezuela. especially now with the presence of both Russian and Chinese troops. So this appears to be another foreign policy failure on the part of the United States of America. Okay, story coming out of Mint Press News saying that the arrest of Juan Guaido would amount to a coup d'etat. No, it wouldn't. He's declared himself the interim president, but that doesn't really have the force of law. He's not the president of Venezuela. Maduro is. All right, we're going to take a phone call. Dustin in New Jersey. Aloha, Dustin. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
I think you should do the Today Show and maybe take off tomorrow and Saturday, Sunday.
That bad, huh?
Yeah, you look like a dragon.
Yeah, I am. I really
need a couple days rest, man.
I really do need a rest. I'm just...
But if you don't, Mike, you're not gonna get any better.
No.
Hey, Mike, I want to tell everybody something. There's like some kind of explosion on a pipeline in Venezuela.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and what they're saying about they want to pump all these millions of dollars into Venezuela, that's like trying to cater to the elitist part of the country. Yes. But they don't control the military. You know, like the people are behind Maduro, and so is the military. What they call them, the Chavistas. They are behind Maduro.
Yep.
So this ain't going to work. It's failed. And Mike, I think it was the first caller who says, you say Trump's a disappointment. Trump's continuing this. So he's the same as the last one. And then that last one was the same as the one before that. Nothing's changed.
No.
Nothing's changed at all. And like with the border and with the trade problems and this or that, nothing has changed or gotten done. And it's what a I don't know what to say, man. That's how I hold my head, Mike, thinking like saying to myself, like, what the heck's gone wrong? And Mike, and then I see on Zero Hedge, they have great articles about China's got these. This is from Gordon Chang on China's collapses any day now to sell books. He said China's got concentration camps and this. I know some of your callers called in about that. That's bogus.
Mm-hmm.
China's got like camps for prisoners for like the Muslim extremists in those areas because they're extremists. They don't want them in with the rest of the population. Nobody wants these kind of people, these extremist elements. But see, he's on the side of the elite of our country, that he don't like the Chinese government. So that's why he writes all these books about evil China and China's like evil communism, and they got concentration camps and they treat their people like just all you have to do is go on YouTube, anybody, and look at all those videos. People are going to work in China. They're talking on their cell phones.
Yep.
They're producing things. And Gordon Chang doesn't even say anything about how come we're not producing anything. It's always evil them, but yet they're the ones producing stuff and we're not anymore.
No, we're not.
And that's the bottom line,
No, we're not.
And Mike, I don't think Trump's going to do anything about it because Detroit's still Detroit and Flint is still Flint.
Yeah.
And nothing's going to be fixed.
No.
But Mike, get better, have that chicken soup, and have a good rest of the show if you can continue to do the show.
Yeah.
Thanks, Mike.
All right. Well, I'm going to definitely get through the show today, and hopefully I'll be better tomorrow. I don't know why I can't shake that. Well, I know what's going on. I'm depressed. I'm very, very depressed because I've been doing this for such a long time, and I'm not seeing anything improve. I'm seeing the same political corruption, the same corporate greed, the same dangers to the environment from vaccine companies and GMO. And just all of a sudden it's just ganged up on me. Anyway, let's take another phone call from Tony in Puerto Rico. Aloha, Tony. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Yeah, Mike, don't get depressed, man. We need you. Okay? Stay cool and drink some brandy, all right?
Okay.
Yeah, listen, Mike, I'm calling because the other day you mentioned how the Clintons.
Hey, listen, Tony, I'm going to have to put you on hold. We got to take another break for commercials. Do not hang up. Do not hang up. I'm coming right back to you after these few words.
Rivero.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show. We're talking with Tony in Puerto Rico. And Tony, what's on your mind today?
Yeah, the other day you mentioned the other program that I was watching yesterday or the day before. You mentioned that the Clintons destroyed you because of Vince Foster. What happened there?
Well, it was back in 1994, and I was working in the film industry, doing visual effects, and I just happened to spot this picture that was released or leaked to the media showing the hand of Vince Foster with the gun that he supposedly shot himself with. And because my business was knowing what makes things look realistic on film, I looked at that photo and I said, this is a fake. If I did work this sloppy, I wouldn't be working. And, you know, see something, say something. I tried to do the right thing. I tried to go public and say, look, this is obviously a murder made to look like a suicide. And I pretty much got blacklisted out of Hollywood as a result of that.
Okay, all right. Thank you, Mike.
Okay, and we're going to switch over to Slim in Canada. Aloha, Slim. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hey, Mike. First-time listener, third-time caller. Thought I'd give you a call.
Okay.
That was a joke, by the way, but sorry to tried. All right, swing and a miss.
Don't worry about it.
I just wanted to. I know you're not feeling that good. I'm trying to make you feel better.
No, I'm not feeling good.
That's the reason why I called. I know you don't feel good, but you have, I'm sure, conservatively over 1 million people that listen to you. You have a population of unfortunate people in the Middle East that I'm no pressure, but they rely on you because you're the one that's basically the voice for the people that are voiceless. I mean, yeah, there's some things being exposed through social media and such. You're the only one that has the cojones to be able to speak up about it. And I just wanted to thank you for that.
Well, thank you very much for the kind words. And, I'm going to keep going. And, I do need a rest. There's no question about that.
Oh, I know.
We're coming up here on a weekend where I'm just basically going to plunk on the futon and hopefully get over whatever it is that I'm dealing with right now. But a big part of it, of course, is just depression.
Okay. Well, I hope you feel better because just if I could say one thing, I could say that I appreciate you, and I'm sure I'm speaking for a lot of other people that's saying that I hope you get some rest. Obviously, we want you in your 100% shape, but we'll take you however you are, for how you are and everything, and we love you for the way you are. If nobody else is going to say it, I'm sure Zach's going to say it. All the way from Nova Scotia, Canada. I love you.
Well, thank you very much. I love you. And I want to be back to 100%, and I recognize I'm not 100%, and I'm just trying to get things back together, okay?
10% of Mike is better than 100% of anybody else around here anyway. Thanks, Mike.
All right, well, thank you very much for that. I appreciate the call.
No problem.
Okay, so we're going to switch to James in Sacramento. Aloha, James. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Wait a minute, Mike. That quick?
Hello?
Are you there?
I'm here. You're on the air.
Usually I'm put on hold for at least a few minutes. Okay, look, here's a couple of things I was looking at. First of all, you look horrible, dude. I mean, come on, don't die on me. I just had my cat die on me. That was bad enough.
Okay.
My 18-year-old cat. It's rough. People don't come on. You take care of your health.
I'm working on it. I'm really working on it. I mean, I had that pneumonia about 5 years ago and 4 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm certainly not as bad as I was back then. But yes, I'm tired. I'm exhausted. I'm depressed. And, I'm trying to do the best that I can.
No, I really appreciate you stepping up to the plate and still doing your show. I mean, that's because I know when I get sick, I just want to crawl in bed and just leave me alone.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so a couple of things I wanted to talk about was one of the things was, the food from Mexico. We always talk about how we could have a food crisis here in the United States, but there's a lot of food that comes out of Mexico, Central America, South America. It comes here to America.
Mm-hmm.
So you got to remember that you got that stuff. Yeah, I don't know how we're going to work it, but fruits and veggies and meat. And
but Trump's threatening to close the border. He's threatening to close the border to all of that produce if Mexico doesn't stop the immigration migration.
Okay, well, that was the other part that I was looking at, was where Trump is. It doesn't make sense. He's not making sense. That's not how you work with other countries and deal with things. All right. So anyway, and then to go to the other part, which is Mexico, or even Central America, or even South America. Well, South America is not too bad, but Central America and Mexico, and you get into these other countries across the planet, and one of the things I've noticed is that everybody allows their country to fall into this total tyranny kind of a thing. I mean, I always look back. I mean, when I was a kid, looking at Stalin and Hitler, it's like, how do these guys get in power? Well, how did they get in power? Is because everybody else is afraid to go up and die.
Yeah.
And so everybody's like, oh, I'm afraid to die. So I just want to, I'll just go along with, whatever they say. I mean, I'm serious. I hate it. They're afraid of poverty, and yet they wind up in poverty. They're afraid of social chastisement, and yet they wind up with social chastisement.
Yep.
They're afraid of being responsible, because once you're responsible for actually taking on a tyranny, then you have to follow through.
No, absolutely.
Yeah. And then people are terrified of that. They're like, I don't really want to be that responsible. I just want to take my kids to the soccer game and whatever,
Yeah.
Drive my SUV, and I've got gas for it, And I mean, I hate to say it, but it just drives me crazy. It's like nobody wants to take any responsibility for anything to get them out of what's going on, And I'm serious. And one of the main things is they're afraid of dying. And yet our founding fathers of this country, even though it was a very small percentage, they were not afraid to die in order to make a life better for their children.
No, if you look at what happened to the signers of the Declaration of Independence, they wound up having their homes destroyed. They wound up in poverty. Their lives were effectively destroyed for standing up against the British Empire. And we're dealing with the same thing here. During Germany, during World War II, they had what was called the Good German phenomenon, where the German people understood that something had gone horribly wrong with their government, but they didn't want to do anything about it because they thought if they just left it alone and minded their own business, that their lives would be left alone, which of course is not what happened.
Well, you also have to remember that if Hitler would have died before 1942, there would have been a statue for him in Berlin.
Yes.
And I mean, but then after 1942, when everything came out, which was Mein Kampf, and it showed just what he was really doing, and it's the same with Stalin or Mao Zedong or Pol Pot. It's like these people get into power. How do they do that? I mean, why isn't it? Well, because they're afraid of dying. I'm afraid to die if I stand up.
Well, because Hitler and Stalin and Pol Pot were very attractive to the power structure of their respective countries.
And don't forget Mao.
And Mao. And Mao. They looked really good. I mean, Hitler had good ideas about the economy. He'd had good ideas about the economy of Germany. And it was only because that, he was attacked by banking concerns in other countries that he changed direction and went to war.
Yeah, I had a stepdad when I was in my early teens who told me he was very, very wise in history. He actually got me interested in history. But he told me, he goes, one of the things about Hitler was when he took over France, what was it? They had that World Bank thing that was set up. He goes,
yeah.
He would actually just move the gold from France over from France's reserves over to the German reserves. And he goes, and when he went into Czechoslovakia, he did the same thing. He just moved all the money over to their reserves.
No,
I mean, and that's, it shows you how easy it is to get really. That's how Germany wound up. Not only the fact that they got rid of the whatever bank, that central bank thing, yeah, but they also moved a bunch of money into their reserves and became very wealthy because of doing that.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, I'm digressing. I'm digressing. I'm afraid. I'm sorry.
No, when you're in war and you are victorious, you plunder and loot your victim countries.
Yeah.
The U.S. has certainly done it. Germany did it. Russia did it.
Yeah. Mao did it. I mean, everybody's done it over the years. I mean, you go to Central America, United Fruit Company did it.
Yes.
But the whole thing is that to stand up against them, what always amazes me is that everybody's just terrified that, well, I might die, and yet, when you find the people that are willing to stand up, and they're willing to die in order to make a better country for their children, they never really get reported. They never really get put into an aspect where it's like, well, this is what happened with this country. This is what happened in order for this country to be better. I mean, I actually had this chick in tears that called me the other day trying to call about some Social Security thing.
Yeah.
And it was a scam, And I just started telling her, I said, how many kids do you have? I realize you want to make money and then try to support your children and all that. But I said, so what is this? You're working from, somebody that's stealing money and being a total ripoff? Is that what you want? Is that what you want to be known for? And I mean, I actually, seriously, she was actually in tears. And I was like, I'm sorry. I just, what it is you have to be willing to die in order to make life better for those that come behind you.
Yes.
Especially your children.
Yes.
And everybody nowadays is so terrified. Oh my God, I might die. And I'm one of those people that's like, no, give me liberty or give me death. And it's getting so crazy nowadays, Mike, that it just blows my mind. I'm looking at where it's going, and I'm going like, well, are we going to go back to, Bunker Hill?
We may. I mean, I've been arguing against a civil war or a revolution on the streets of America, but, at this point, I'm beginning to think it may be inevitable. That, maybe it's time to start shooting the corrupt.
Well, no, it's only because these people that are in power are like total psychopaths. I wouldn't even call them sociopaths. I would call them total psychopaths.
Yeah.
They're just nuts. I mean, they're just absolutely nuts. And it just blows my mind. It's like, what the heck are you guys doing? You're my American country. I mean, I've gotten to the point where I voted for Trump.
Yeah.
You know, and now I'm looking at it. I'm looking at it and I'm just going like, so it doesn't matter who you vote for. You know, I think they take these. I think they take these politicians, even our senators and our congressmen, when they get voted in for a new person, a new congressman, a new senator, a new president. They take them into that little back room and they sit them down and they say, okay, look, this is how things are going to go. We're the ones that are in control, and you have to do this and do that. We'll write your speeches for you, you know, and you're going to look good on camera, which Trump looks good on camera.
Yes.
You know? But so did
Actually, his wife looks
Bush
better.
and little Bush, and it's just crazy. Okay, so here's the last thing I want to do is with Hinckley. The other day, you guys were talking about Hinckley, and if what's his name died, that he should be arrested or charged with murder. Wouldn't that be double indemnity?
No, because Hinckley was never charged. I don't know if he was charged with the shooting of Brady, but once Brady died, he should have been charged with murder.
Okay, but you got to look at how many years it was before Brady died.
He did die from the gunshot wound eventually.
Okay, all right, but then wasn't Hinckley already on trial for all of that shooting?
Yeah, he was, but I still think it would have been appropriate to charge him with the murder of Brady. I mean, call me silly, but I think that would have been appropriate.
Well, no, I'm not calling you silly. I'm just talking about law and double indemnity. You can't charge somebody with a crime twice.
Well, we're not...
So he was already...
He wasn't charged with the murder of Brady until Brady died, and he should have been charged then. So, you know, double...
All right. I don't know. I'm still going to stand on double indemnity on that. But...
Okay, all right.
Yeah,
Okay.
Because, I mean, once you charge somebody and you let them go, it's like you're done.
Okay, all right. Well, listen, we got to let you go. We got to take a break for
thanks.
commercials. We got a bunch of other callers waiting on the line, and we'll be right back. Okay, let's go back to the phones here, and we're going to start with Joe in Nome, Alaska. Aloha, Joe. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Aloha, Mike. The synchronicities between today's show and me made it imperative that I add my input. It seems that your cynicism might be approaching the level of mine. I paid $50 for the Ruddy report back in the mid '90s there, and when our governor was running for against Clinton, it sunk to the level of idiocracy for me.
Mm-hmm.
You're aware of that movie,
Yep.
obviously. And there's another cult classic out there, Iron Sky. Have you heard of that one?
Yes, I have.
Yeah, that's where Sarah Palin is fighting Nazis from the moon.
Yeah.
The famous quote in there being, "Oh, goody, a war. That'll guarantee my re-election." Blah, blah, blah. Anyway, so when in '99, of course, I switched parties because I saw Pat Buchanan on the ticket against Bush. And I figured, This is the only hope. The only hope for what's left. Of course, when Pat didn't get the nomination, I said, that's it. Screw it. I'm not paying in another penny because I know I'm never getting a penny back. And my activism was out of hand by that point because I'd gotten in front of the Homer City Council about 9/11, and the fallout from that ended up pretty disappointing.
Yeah.
Ultimately, I had to move. But yeah.
It's not an easy life. I mean, that's just the reality. It's not an easy life to be out there trying to speak truth to power. And, you know, there have been a few times where I wish I had just kept my mouth shut all the way back in 1994, and I would have had a much better life. I would have had a more materially successful life. But, you know, I just see something, say something. I wanted to do what I thought was right at the time, and I've paid a very heavy price for it. Anyway, listen.
Get some of that Extendivite, or if not, get yourself some garlic and some lemon, some cayenne pepper, and some honey, and make tea out of it.
I have Extendivite. Thank you very much. We're going to let you go. We got a whole bunch of callers waiting on the line. We'll be right back with hour number 2. And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show here. Hour number 2. The phone lines are open, and let's start taking calls, starting with Stuart in Miami. Aloha, Stuart. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind today?
Hey, what's going on, Mike?
Just hanging in.
Hey, this isn't Stuart from Miami. This is Dave from Delaware.
Okay.
Hey, hi, yeah. Hey, good, Mike. Hey, these callers are a piece of work today, aren't they?
In what regard?
No, I'm saying they're all your friends. Everybody cares about you.
Yeah, they do, and I'm very grateful for that. I really am.
Oh, I hear you. Yeah, I just wanted to, the one caller while I was waiting online, he was talking about Hitler. He said that and nowadays, like, Hitler would have had a statue or something like that if the times were turned.
Well, yeah, if Hitler had died earlier when he was doing, you know, good for the German economy, yeah, he would have had statues. You know, he did have coins and stamps and currency with his face on it.
Like Palestine Day.
Yeah.
Right? Do you see any parallels today with the Weimar Republic, like why Hitler came to power? Like, you know, what's going on in our country with these these Marxists and, you know, the culture of Marxism and all that stuff?
Absolutely.
All right. Well, I hear you. Yeah, it's funny though because have you ever heard of the Frankfurt School in Germany?
Yes.
What do you think about that? Like, do you see any parallels with that, with what's going on today? You know, like how the media is controlled and, you know, how they're pushing all this stuff on our kids about all this, you know, different, you know, debauchery.
Yep. I'm definitely seeing that. I mean, we know that, you know, there's a lot of nonsense being pushed on our society right now to keep us divided, to keep us confused, all this transgender nonsense. It's all Frankfurt School set the blueprint for all of that.
Right. I know. That's crazy because, and I can see how you're depressed, Mike. Like, I can feel it too. I can see it in your face.
Yep.
I know it's hard not to be, you know, seeing what's going on. I give you credit though. At least you didn't just completely cuck and get down on your knees for Trump like, your buddy Alex Jones did, you know. It's over with for him. I mean, I know you don't like to talk about other shows and all that stuff, but still, at least you're trying to come out of the fog a little bit, and you're like, oh yeah, I'm depressed. Like, this is crazy. Like, he completely sold out. Just don't get back on drugs. Are you dipping into Claire's like opioids or something like that? Because you look kind of funny. Look, I don't know.
No, nothing like that. I'm just not getting a lot of sleep is the problem.
Oh, I hear you. I know. Well, you got a lot of good people out here that, that watch you and listen to you, Mike, that've been here for years. I know, and then people talk a lot of stuff about them, like, your buddy Dustin and Mark, but I guess they call in every day. They're your friends, right?
Yeah. They're all my friends.
I hear it.
I have a lot of friends out there.
I know. Hey, look, and I'm not being judgmental, but you look like grade A bovine excrement or whatever you always say.
Yeah, I know I do. And it was, again, it's a choice. I either try and stagger my way through the show or I put on a replay, and I just don't want to do the replays here. Anyway, thank you very much for the phone call, Dave. We're going to let you go.
Hold on.
Okay.
No. I know you always talk about the presidential brass knuckles and, the Soviet-era style collapse and all that stuff. Like, those are your go-to talking points. Last week, or like the week before that, you said that if Trump doesn't do anything now, and if he doesn't put on the presidential brass knuckles, so what's going to happen? I mean, so what, you think it's going to be Trump and Hillary again? He hasn't done anything, Mike.
No. He hasn't.
It's not the communist Chinese.
He hasn't. I mean, he's wrecked trade with China. He's ruined our relations with Russia. He's not really done all that much about the border or the economy. He certainly hasn't done anything about vaccine safety or election integrity. He's a huge disappointment.
Well, supposedly he got his money that the Pentagon said that he had his $12 billion or whatever for the wall. Whatever happened with that state of emergency?
Congress blocked it.
Nothing happened, so he cucked again, right?
Yep.
Oh man, I don't know, Mike. I hear you, and I can see. At least you're being real about it a little bit. I mean, because don't start pushing any other politician, then, Mike. That's what I'm getting at.
Okay.
So why would we ever keep voting again? Come on.
No, I never vote. It just seems to encourage the bastards.
Oh, don't be like that, Mike. It's all right. I don't know, man. I just don't get back on like some antidepressants like you always talk about. You're saying you're depressed.
No, I'm not on those. I'm not on those.
You just need to get some sleep. You need to get some pussy. You need to smoke a blunt, Mike, and drink a couple beers or something.
Yeah.
Take a break.
Yeah. Mostly the getting the sleep part.
All right, Mike. Hey, look, man. You might as well give it a rest a couple of days. You don't have that super male vitality in you. We can all tell.
Well, I got the weekend coming up.
All right. Well, hey, Mike, we'll see what happens coming up here. What do you think about Bolsonaro in Brazil? You think he's a nationalist?
Yeah, it does, and I wish him a lot of luck. I think we need to support the nationalists against the globalists.
Yeah, moving the wall, or moving the embassy. He's going to do that too. That's his main thing. I know, and they all go there and kiss it. Even Hillary Clinton kissed the wall.
Yeah.
They made her kiss a certain part of the wall though, because they don't allow females and women into like little certain areas.
Yeah, I know.
Have you ever heard about the Noahide laws, Mike?
Yeah, I have, and they made an exception for Hillary to go in and kiss the wall because she needed to make that political statement.
Because if they don't, they're not going to get their money, right? We all know who runs this country.
Yeah.
I don't know. And you always say that I'm trying to paint it with a broad brush. I mean, I'm not. It's not all Jews. You know that, Mike.
No.
Like you said you were married to one or whatever. But it's the news behind the curtain. Come on, Mike. More and more people are waking up to it every day. I see you like you're like real tired now. You're like a beat down man. Right?
Yeah.
I don't know. There's a younger generation coming in. More and more people are waking up every day to it, and that's why they're trying to shut it down. And then, like I told you, one of the first times I call in, who's behind it? It's Trump. He's behind the censorship. They talked about he's signing an executive order on free speech on campuses. I guarantee you it's going to have something to do with the BDS and the boycott, divestment, sanctions. It's going to have, you
agree.
can't say this.
I agree. I agree.
All right, Mike. Well, hopefully you're not popping pills again, Mike.
Oh, I've never been popping pills. I mean, it's been like 20 years since I did that sort of stuff. I'm just exhausted.
All right,
I'm exhausted and I'm depressed.
I know. Take a break.
Yeah, I got to take a break.
Depressed about what, Mike? What are you depressed about?
I'm depressed about the fact that I've been doing the website for 25 years. I've been doing radio for 12 years, and I haven't changed anything.
No, bullshit, Mike, because I'm 32 years old. I listen to you like I didn't know anything about you. So you changed a little bit with me just by listening to you. So take that for granted, or don't. I know you don't believe in God, you don't believe in Jesus Christ and all this stuff, but there's different little things that you do. Don't get depressed. I feel like you're getting yourself down for no reason. Just keep it up, Mike. Keep your head up. Come on, man. We're halfway there.
I'll do my best. Like I said, I'm coming up on a weekend, and I'm going to rest on the weekend, and hopefully I'll be back to normal on Monday here.
Good. And smoke some of that good Hawaii bud. I know they got some good out there. It'll help you out. Relax. I'm serious. And talk with some friends, real friends.
Can't find any of that stuff. Can't find any of that stuff.
I hear you, man. I hear you. Like I said, keep your head up, man. There's no reason to be depressed. We're almost there. Everybody's getting exposed. You're seeing it.
All right. Well, thank you very much for the phone call. We're going to do a shout out to our on-air affiliates who have just now rejoined our network, and we're going to go to Stuart in Miami. Aloha, Stuart. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind? Okay, apparently we lost Stuart. So let's go to Ann in Texas. Aloha, Ann. Oh, no, we lost Ann. Jeff in St. Paul. Aloha, Jeff. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Listen, got to recharge over the weekend, and you remind me of a battery problem where the battery can't get past a certain low level.
Yeah.
So here's what you got to do. You got to get some Epsom salts, some lemon, some water, and drink as much water with lemon in it.
Yep.
Start taking baths in Epsom salts with loofah sponges. Rub it in. Keep the lights down low. Put the curtains down. And after you soak as much as you can, stand up, but don't wash yourself off. Go right to bed in the dark, and let your blood get cleaned by the magic in the Epsom salts. And take big peas and that crap out of you. And another thing is you should think about doing a weekend show where you talk about stuff like technology and programming and business, stuff that you know about that people would love and they'd be paying for it. That might lift your spirits. So anyway, I'll let you go. We got the basketball people here this weekend in Minneapolis.
Well, good.
So you'll probably be watching some of that. So so recharge the system. Get that blood clean. And get some oxygen, and you'll feel better. Okay, I'll be listening. See ya.
All right, thanks an awful lot here. We're going to switch over to Keith Rogers. Aloha, Keith. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Well, I got a couple little things here for you, Mike. First, I wish I could send you a puppy. They sure help.
I'm not allowed to have puppies in this place, unfortunately.
Yeah, well, I'm a little dyslexic, but with dog, all things are possible. But anyway,
yes.
A couple issues here. One of them is the first fine for $50,000 has been issued over in the UK now for mislabeling a male who was a male. But anyway, the reason I really called, though, was about Iran.
Yeah. And
this stemmed from a U.S. State Department memo that was released there, and I mean the total hypocrisy of what you heard from out of the State Department. Anyway, Iran is suffering, as many Middle Eastern countries are right now, with severe rain and even over in Israel too, by the way.
Yeah.
But anyway, due to these massive floods and stuff like that, they've suffered a lot of them, and I think they're up to 43 or 44 that have died there because of the flooding and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so the State Department issues this memo about Iran and also announces more sanctions on Iran, and then starts blaming Iran for its own infrastructure failure. which I thought was total hubris. But on my show here, on which I have on Sundays for the listeners out there, on my show during Hurricane Harvey, I had highlighted the fact that lobbyists had worked with the insurance groups to make sure that Americans could not get home insurance in the national flood zones between the Missouri and Mississippi rivers. And this also stretched down into the areas around these levees and stuff, of which the military at the time, the Army Corps of Engineer had busted there several times, and they swamped another 10,000 homes or something like that. But anyway, so I mean, can you imagine that the State Department issues that to Iran about its failing infrastructure? In the meantime, here in America, over $1 billion in damages from floods here, and of course our northwestern waters are just starting to melt here from our massive snow we've had. And the Missouri probably is going to go up, and the Mississippi is probably going to go up, and probably the fields will all be leached out again and cause another algae bloom like it did in 2011 there.
Yep.
And it just seems like who's ever behind the tweets and issuing statements from the State Department is like, don't they realize that we're on to them? And I'd like to use an illustration, especially here from Montana. In the mornings when our beautiful sun comes up, when we can see it anyway, and this involves what we're doing out here on RBN, so don't get discouraged on that part. But in the morning, as the sun comes up over the valley and starts peeking up over the mountaintops like that, the shaded areas, you can watch them slowly starting to disappear like that, and suddenly you got light across the entire valley. And that's why I know that we are doing something out here for the fact of they wouldn't be trying to censor us. They wouldn't be removing websites or links to websites. They wouldn't be banning 400 some odd sites. I mean, we are making a dent. So I think that will be noted, because everyone I talked to that voted in 2016 has no plans on voting in 2020.
Yeah.
And I think just like over in Florida, where they released all these felons, and the paper says they're all going to be voting GOP. I mean, this shows you how everything in this country is upside down. And I think to the fact is they are exposing themselves about how corrupt it is. Like listening to Donald Trump talking about Venezuela and Russia down there, and Trump says they got to get them out. They got to get them out. And I sent you that one link there from this Israeli News Live, where that one guy, I kind of like the guy, but he was commenting on Trump, basically saying Israel can have the Golan Heights, and he went on as a Jewish man saying that it's not right, and he went on to read their biblical reasons and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And it just goes to show you that people are waking up to the fact. And when you think of maybe the possibility of U.S. troops going in over on the Golan Heights to protect Israel now, that coincides with that general that said that U.S. military should be prepared to die for Israel. I mean, what we have in the White House now is a bunch of radicalized evangelical Christians that, like I, in that one email I'd sent out, is the summary of like you working all week long, doing your show and stuff like that, and then on Saturday at early in the morning, you're awakened by a Jehovah's Witness pounding on your door, and this isn't nothing against him directly, but anyway, trying to cram their religious beliefs down your throat. And if you're not allowed to say F off and close the door and like that, but in fact they're making laws that you have to invite them in, accept their literature. But this is what the White House is doing with the respects of what Israel is doing,
yes,
as well as threatening to arrest the ICC court judges, pulling their visas. I mean, it's openly exposed. And so that is getting more and more people talking. And daily, my email just floods about what's going on around the world here, and people are noticing it. So I think we're going to see a big shift here in 2020 when it comes up for election time.
Well, I hope you're right here. Again, my big concern is that Trump is weakening himself with his inaction on so many of the different promises he made in 2016. and that Hillary Clinton, if there is not a strong front runner in the Democratic lineup, that she is going to step back in.
Yeah. One thing I think about that whole issue there is that in lieu of, I remember you, and I won't say parading, but in all of the work you did to work to get Donald Trump out there instead of Hillary Clinton, and then looking back now at going on 2+ years now, that the only thing Trump has done has been for Israel.
Yes.
Only thing. So I sent you that thing from the stock market. Yesterday, everything was in the negatives of like 12, 24% stuff. Today, it's all plus 15%. They are flat out lying about the economy.
Yes. And
so I just think, like you say, stand back, watch, and I believe that the collapse is going to come here before too long. And one other thing I want to say before I get off the phone here, I'll let you go to your other callers or something like that, plus you got a break coming up. But in Germany, under the Stasi program, remember, they removed any, anything related to Hitler. The only thing that stands there is the little monument type thing of Hitler's parents, and that's it. But that was part of that denazification. Anyway, you have a good day, Mike. My best to you. And if you get bored, give me an email, okay?
Yes, thank you very much. We're going to take a break for commercials. We'll be back with more phone calls after these few words. Aloha, America. Welcome back to our show here. And I don't know, people keep hanging up on the phone lines here. So the only caller we've got waiting right now is Ed in Chicago. So Ed, aloha, welcome to the show. Thank you for waiting patiently. And what's on your mind?
Hi, Mike. Am I coming through okay?
You're on the air.
Yeah, I just wanted to encourage you and remind you that we listened to you when the Arab Spring. What year was that? Oh my God! And we're riveted to your commentary and reporting on it. And you got a long history of doing the right thing, brother.
It's too long.
Too long, right? I get it. I know it's not easy.
No.
Nobody said it. Hey, hang in there.
I'm doing my best.
You got it. We're all behind you, brother. Right?
Well, thank you. I appreciate the kind words.
You're doing a heck of a job, and you've contributed so much to our.
Well, like I said, I'm gonna get caught up on my rest on the weekend, and hopefully by Monday, I'll be back to normal. But yeah, it's been 25 years of the website, 12 years of radio, and it's taken its toll.
But you've done a hell of a job. Don't be discouraged, my man. You're there. I'm like your age, about, I don't know, I'm 59, blah blah blah.
Well, I got a few years on you. I'm 66. I'm about to turn 67.
Okay. All right. Well, yeah. Like I tell everybody, how long you been married? They ask me. Well, we've been married 32 years, but it feels like 42 with the wind chill.
I love it.
Yeah. So, no, and she's great, but she does not get any of this. She doesn't want to understand it. She doesn't want to even look at it. And I've been preaching this stuff for, good Lord, ever since Waco, Texas. What year is that? 92?
Yeah.
It doesn't want to look at it. And but we're in it. And
well, that's that good German phenomenon. People who are absolutely convinced they know the government's doing bad things, but if they just pretend that they don't see it, that bad things won't happen to them, which, of course, was not the outcome for the people of Germany. They lost their country.
Well, I don't think they had any. They had a lot of outside influence in that. in World War II. Oh my God.
Yeah.
But that's another story. I just want to encourage you to realize that all your years of effort are not gone. You've contributed and you've helped. You've told us so much. My two sons, they listen to you. They're both Chicago cops. My two sons, and they listen to you.
Okay.
How about that?
That's good. That's good. Well, give them my congratulations on being peace officers, and there are some good cops out there, and we need to reward them and acknowledge them and sort of, undo the damage done by the bad cops.
Oh, they're good cops. They don't do anything. They don't do any of that bad stuff that everybody like to talk about. John,
yeah, we have a good cop that lives catty corner to us, and she's a good human being, and she's a good police officer, and she's got a cute son, cute little puppy dog, and she's a good friend.
All right, Mike. Well, thank you for your service, and carry on, brother. Airborne.
All right. Well, thank you very much here, and I believe the phone lines are clean now, if you want to call on in. So let's get on back to some of the news here. Apparently, Pakistan is on high alert, and the Indian military is ready to strike. Apparently, they're ready for an all-out conflict between the two countries. Guys, why can't you just calm down and talk this out? Apparently not. They're getting ready to just launch on each other. And remember, both of these countries are nuclear powers, so this could get really, really upset. Okay, we're going to take a break here for commercials, and we'll be right back. And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show here. And apparently, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is now basically firing back against the accusations of campaign finance violations. Well, of course, we sort of expect that to happen. She's a firebrand, there's no question about that. But she's claiming that the new claims about campaign finance violations are bogus and, still new to Congress since her surprise election in the 2018 midterms. As the youngest female lawmaker was heading to a meeting in the House Financial Services Committee when she made the remarks to Fox News. And she said, it's conservative interest groups just filing bogus proposals. So the politics is flying, and she's out there saying that it didn't happen. Well, we'll wait and see what happens on that one. I'm not impressed with her. I know that she's the darling of the Democratic Party. I'm not impressed with her. She just feels phony to me. She just really does. Okay. Now then, over at the Wall Street Journal, they're running an article basically saying that the Democrats, now that they've lost on that whole collusion thing, they're trying to invent a cover-up. They don't want to let go of the collusion accusation. They're saying there was collusion, that Robert Mueller's covering it up, that William Barr's covering it up, that Donald Trump is covering it up. There's a big, stinky, smelly cover-up. And none of it really makes any sense because Mueller made it very obvious from the get-go that his goal was to get Donald Trump. And certainly if Barr had neglected to mention anything significant in Robert Mueller's report, Mueller would have gone public about it by now. This is just another example of the Democrats not being able to let go of their witch hunt. They're still out there. They're desperate. They want to find something that they can work with. And there's nothing there. It's a big nothing burger. So, okay, now, getting on back down to Venezuela, the Atlantic Council is out there basically admitting that Putin trumped the U.S. with the Venezuela blitzkrieg. And what they're basically saying is it failed. That Donald Trump really thought that they were going to go in there with Juan Guaido. Juan Guaido was the new declared interim president. The military would back him. The populace would back him. He would be the new president. Maduro would be gone. Did not happen. And it's looking more and more like outside of a direct military intervention by the United States, Venezuela is going to stay under the control of its legitimate elected government. So it's another foreign policy failure. They're starting to just pile on up there, aren't they? Afghanistan was a foreign policy failure. I mean, they're negotiating with the Taliban to get out of there without having to admit that they lost, which is exactly what they did. They're staying in Iraq so that they don't have to say they lost. They're staying in Syria so they're saying they don't have to say that they lost. That's exactly what happened. They're not doing very well. Alrighty. Right now we have NATO's 70th anniversary. And looking at what they've been doing recently, we've got 18 years of war in Afghanistan, the chaos in Libya, the violations of international law sponsored by the organization in the Balkans, including Yugoslavia. But NATO is not this benevolent, protective organization we've all been told it is. It's a war machine. It's just another war machine. It's the name for the U.S.-led coalition that is going in and invading other countries. Now, NATO Secretary General Stoltenberg is out there saying that Hitler, Stalin, and Daesh were the enemies of freedom. And Stoltenberg is emphasizing NATO's importance in preserving peace during the post-World War II era. That's the new selling point. You need NATO to keep you free. We need NATO to basically preserve our rights. I don't think so. Meanwhile, Russia has announced that if NATO ships continue to approach its coast, that Russia's military will respond. They're saying we will continue to keep an eye on the number and class of ships they plan to show off in the Black Sea near Russia's coast and will take necessary measures with regard to both the sea zone and land borders. Russia's tired of NATO coming in and provoking them, which is exactly what they have been doing. Okay, let's see. Apparently, there's yet another candidate stepping into the Democratic fray for 2020, Pete Buttigieg, and his candidacy is being promoted heavily by corporate media, and he's one of the many 2020 contenders for the Democratic Party who declined to attend the recent annual conference of the American Israel Public Affairs Committee, AIPAC. And that was in response to calls from prominent progressive organizations to boycott the event and a growing shift among Democrats voters in favor of Palestinian rights, which I think is a very, very positive sign here. So, despite his absence from the AIPAC conference, Buttigieg's past public statements on the Israel-Palestine conflict echo those of the pro-Israel stalwarts of the Democratic Party. So he's playing politics. He's trying to play on both sides of the situation here. All righty. Apparently, Donald Trump is now giving China until the year 2025 to commit to a finalized trade deal. And apparently, according to Bloomberg, Washington, Trump is giving Beijing until 2025 to meet commitments on commodity purchases and allow American companies to wholly own enterprises in the Asian nation. 2025, that's a long time off, which means nothing is really being solved. Trump will be out of office by the time that deadline happens. People are still talking about Joe Biden and his touchy-feely approach here. And Biden is admitting he has made women uncomfortable. He promises to respect personal space, but does not apologize for connecting with people. Trump wishes him luck. And again, you know, looking at the videos of Biden, some of the stuff he does with small kids, I'm not comfortable with. The stuff he's doing with adult women, it looks like minor affection. And we have to be very, very careful that we are not caught up in this whole politically correct Me Too situation in which the display of simple affection is in fact demonized. All right, we're going to take a phone call. Bruce in Texas, aloha. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Yes, hello, Mike.
Yep, you're on the air.
Hi. Hey, you're sounding a lot better. Good to hear.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. You were mentioning the Mueller report earlier, and I'd just like to throw this at you, and you can bounce it and see if you think it's worth considering. If you draw a parallel, you draw two lines between the Mueller report when it started, all the indictments, and all the quote-unquote leaks, you know, that his family, Trump Jr., maybe even Kushner, has been, you know, possibly being indicted. And then you look at Trump's behavior in office, and when he first entered in his jovial meetings with Putin, and the hoopla that he didn't allow anybody else to hear their private conversation, and then just follow that along. And I think you could maybe at least entertain the thought that something was found, and the Mueller investigation actually achieved its objective, is that Trump may be just completely, he may have folded under pressure. In other words, Mueller was a blackmail artist. What do you think?
I don't really think so, because Mueller, for the sake of his own reputation, after spending 2 years and $30 million, if he'd actually found something, I think he would have come out with it. And we've been hearing from leakers within the Mueller organization for months now that they hadn't found anything, that they knew last August, before the midterm elections, that there wasn't anything. And obviously Mueller withheld the report because the Democrats were campaigning on collusion, and he was definitely trying to help them during the midterms. I don't think there was anything there for them to find.
Okay. All right, that's your opinion. I think they did, but, you know, reasonable people can disagree.
Okay.
Just remember this, though. Mueller was the FBI director on 9/11.
Yeah, so, I know he was, and we know that there was a lot of skullduggery regarding 9/11, and I don't trust Mueller, but I don't think he's a fan of Donald Trump. I don't think he's a supporter.
All righty. Talk to you later. Thank you.
All right, thanks an awful lot. We're going to let you go. Okay. All right, getting on back here. Let's talk about immigration and globalism here. Apparently, there's some footage that's been taken by the Customs and Border Protection agents, and it's basically showing just how risky it is when families are trying to get their young children through that border. And we're talking about dragging children through the razor wire. So the recently released footage was taken on December 18th and December 22nd, and on both days, agents filmed smugglers pulling families, including children, through the razor wire laid across the U.S.-Mexico border. And apparently, voices can be heard on the tape in Spanish saying, "Don't do that, look at the child," and, "Hey, careful with the boy." So it's a nasty, nasty business down there. Now, whose fault is all of this? It's not ICE. It's not the Border Patrol. It is the parents who make that choice to bring their children across the border. They are to blame. They are at fault. Anyway. Over in Great Britain, oh boy, they're still going on with this whole Brexit situation, and apparently Theresa May has had another vote down in the Parliament regarding her deal. Apparently the EU is not willing to extend the deadline past April 12th. It looks like it's going to happen. And apparently they have got 10,000 riot police in Britain on standby in case a no-deal Brexit sparks a public disorder. Now, last Friday, which was the day that Britain was supposed to be free of the European Union, there were all kinds of parties and celebration, but there wasn't any violence or disorder. So I don't think that there's going to be. I think when Great Britain is finally free of the European Union, there's going to be a lot of very happy people in Great Britain. But apparently, they've got these 10,000 riot police are going to be on standby in case the no-deal Brexit leads to riots. It may lead to riots with the Remainers. So, alrighty here. Apparently, there is a ship in the Mediterranean. It's described as a humanitarian vessel. It's carrying 64 migrants, and it was refused permission to dock in Italy. And Italy's Matteo Salvini said, take them to Germany. So this is another standoff in the Mediterranean about all these migrants who are coming across to Europe, and they just sort of got into the habit of thinking, we can go into Italy. Italy will let us in. Well, Italy is now saying, no, you can't. Take them up to Germany here, and I don't think Germany wants them either. So it is just, it's a mess. This thing with the migrants, somebody somewhere has to make a decision saying it's gone on enough. It is time for it to stop. It's time for all this open border nonsense to be ended. So, anyway, over at Dick's Sporting Goods, as you know, following the shooting at the Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School in Florida, they stopped selling firearms. And as a result, they have taken a $150 million loss. And apparently management is perfectly okay with that, if not the stockholders. We got to take a break for commercials. We'll be right back. And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show here. We're talking about Joe Biden. I just put up this link at whatreallyhappened.com where the Trump White House has come out with a spoof video on Twitter of Joe Biden touching Joe Biden. And it is rather hilarious. But again, it's kind of a little creepy the way Joe does this with children. But again, I don't think it's that big an issue. I think women are overreacting to that. Joe Biden is also an opponent of the Second Amendment. He thinks all of us should be disarmed. And for that reason, I am not a fan. What can I tell you? All right, we're going to go to the phones here. Glenn in Alabama. Aloha, Glenn. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
I heard something on another show a couple of weeks ago, and I've been laughing about it for the entire time. And you began talking about turning back the illegals.
Yeah.
You convince Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer that 70% of them are going to vote Republican, and they will have that wall up in under 6 weeks, complete with minefields and snipers. Just convince them they're all coming up to vote Republican.
Well, unfortunately, the Democrats are convinced that the illegal immigrants will vote Democrat because they're handing out all kinds of free stuff.
And guess what? Once they've been here 20 years, they vote Republican.
I don't know, 20 years, I mean, that's a long, long time. I don't think I'm going to be here in 20 years.
Yeah, I hear you loud and clear. Okay, I know you got other callers. I don't want to hold your time.
All right, well, Glenn, thanks an awful lot. And yeah, unfortunately, the reason Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer are in favor of the open borders, they're convinced that the vast majority of those illegals will be voting Democrat, even though they are not supposed to vote at all. So it's just as crooked as you can get. Okay, over at Ethiopia, their transport minister is saying that the national carrier's pilots were following published Boeing procedures immediately before the fatal crash of that 737 MAX 8 in March. And so transport boss Dagmawit Moses said the crew performed all the procedures repeatedly provided by the manufacturer, but was not able to control the aircraft. Now, at this point, Boeing has acknowledged that both the Ethiopian airline and the Lion Air airline crash, the Indonesian airline crash, both involved that anti-stall system. Apparently, there's been yet another delay in getting a software patch out there, which is going to be annoying all those airlines who have all of that hardware sitting on the ground, unable to fly. Okay, there's the music. We got to take a break here for station identification. When we come on back, Mariam Azizi will be joining us on the air to talk about, well, all kinds of things that are going on over there in Israel. We'll be right back. And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show here. Hour number 3. The phone lines are open, 800-313-9443. And I think we should have Mariam Azizi online. Mariam, are you there?
I'm with you.
Oh, outstanding. Okay, great. Well, welcome to our show here. It's been a while since we had you on the air. And I know you emailed me earlier in the week about new developments going on over there in your part of the world. So can you just sort of share with everybody what's going on?
Of course. It's been a couple of years, actually, Mike, since we spoke. And those 2 years have been amazing, what's going on in Israel, and I'm not sure anyone outside knows enough. I'll give you some bullet points, and then you can ask me anything you like.
Okay.
February 2017, which is just over 2 years ago, there were a wave of arrests of about 30 what you call activists across the country, led by Homeland Security and the FBI of the United States, hired in by the government to shut down dissent against judges and welfare, which is illegal in Israel to actually criticize a judge, not so in the US. Since then, one journalist has now been held over 2 years without trial. The witnesses for this trial are judges, police and welfare for the prosecution, over 300 of them. The blogger that you spoke to is on house arrest, and one human rights lawyer is also on house arrest for allegedly conspiring to help this journalist when she needed defending in civil cases. This has been labelled the cyber terror affair, the bloggers trial, and it seems that they used the Patriot Act in the USA to get them arrested. So good old America. Thank you very much. Now, because of that, everyone got scared and didn't want to talk. In fact, some people, one guy was taken out with M16s and a SWAT team for sharing a Facebook post. So that's kind of the background to why I'm speaking to you now. Most of those people that were arrested were parts of a civil society that were telling the United Nations what was actually going on in Israel, and so they just left me standing outside with no Israeli ID. And it's been a scary time for me because I found out that the government set up a interministerial team of 17 divisions to hound me and follow me and denounce me for 4 straight years, believe it or not, even before this arrest. So I now have that in black and white. So it's quite frightening. I'm with a lawyer at the moment, another one who dared to speak up, and he's in mega risk, which we'll tell you about as we go on. But the interesting thing here is that freedom of speech is now not allowed. Insulting a public official gets you at least 6 months in jail, and they're looking for 10 years to possibly even life for this female journalist. And it's all thanks to the use of the USA. And I went to Washington last year to try and get the freedom of information, and they're not allowed to see the materials to defend themselves. So I'll just pause there while you talk.
That's pretty scary right there when, first of all, for Israel to be using the USA Patriot Act on our shores, and second of all, I mean, for pushing for a life sentence, that's very scary. And it all seems to be part of this campaign to discourage criticism of, anybody in the Israeli government. Now, you yourself have not been arrested, correct?
I've been arrested once, and I was held for 12 hours for trespassing on a public street with a filmmaker, while filming to try and protect a father whose child had been kidnapped, and he was looking for him. And that father suffered a lot of persecution. And how it works is this. A lot of things have been happening in Israel this year. Number one, the court administration, which handles the judiciary, have been caught holding a secret database, which we know is of at least 8,000 citizens who disagree with the way things are run. And they have been cooking up criminal charges against these dissenters with the help of judges, notifying judges ahead that these people are on the database, and fabricating criminal charges to keep people quiet. And this is the administration of the courts. So that's quite frightening. And that was exposed by a father who spent 2.5 years trying to get it done and find out what was going on. And he's filed civil criminal charges against members of the court administration. The head of the Bar Association has just been indicted for sex for jobs, where he was demanding sexual favors for judges to be appointed and lawyers to pass the bar. So the whole of the judicial system is in disarray, and anybody who doesn't like it is still being arrested and hounded, believe it or not. So the corruption is mega, mega deep. No judicial system, no democracy. You'd agree with that?
I would absolutely agree with that, and it does sound like it's just incredibly corrupt. I mean, for that kind of behavior to be going on, and apparently no means for the system to correct itself internally. Apparently, the government of Israel seems perfectly okay with this kind of stuff going on, like the sex for jobs stuff.
Mm-hmm. Well, they like it, and Netanyahu's got so many potential indictments for the last 3 years, and he's still standing okay, despite all his American links and bribery and corruption and everything that's happening. Now, why is there no way to get any help? Because there isn't one single non-government organization or anything in Israel for Israelis. The only NGOs that exist in Israel are for the Palestinians or for the left-wing territory. You know, I want the Palestinians to have equal rights, which is okay. But there is not one existing organization or ombudsman in Israel for any Jewish Israeli citizen to go to. Not one. And I can't think of a country that doesn't have somebody somewhere that's independent that they can actually turn to. And this is a mega problem. So they're all holed in there with no one to tell. So yours truly went to the UN a few weeks ago to write and send yet another report of all the horrendous things that are going on. And I took with me a juvenile lawyer who spilled the beans and blew the whistle on the child trafficking and money laundering that's going on inside there from America and Britain. So the funding that's coming in to help children in Israel is to actually fund child trafficking and launder money.
Well, that's, this whole child trafficking thing, it's another area in which I'm disappointed in Donald Trump, because he came into office, talking about the out-of-control pedophilia, child trafficking problem in this country and said he was going to do something about that. So far, I mean, there have been a few arrests, but it seems like it's just a small dent in the problem.
Well, I think Israel might be the head office for this affair because all roads lead back there. But I'm going to introduce you to Mickey shortly. But about a year ago, he was taken by the police as a lawyer, taken twice on the same day, held for a total of about 9 hours and told to keep away from me, the English journalist, to watch his work or he may lose his children himself, and not to emulate the lawyer that was on house arrest that was the head of our civil society. He didn't really pay too much attention to that warning, and perhaps he should have done, because they did take his children.
Oh, my goodness.
He rescued them, and he'll tell you about it, but his life has been decimated. And especially now that he's blown the whistle, and they're not happy because it's classed as treason to criticize the state of Israel at all. And not the state. He's not even criticizing the state because he's an Israeli. He's criticizing the system that's killing people. Why not? I mean, people are dying. We just lost a journalist of mega standing who committed suicide 2 weeks ago. Really big name there. He just took his life. He couldn't do it anymore. And 4 people took their life on the same day. And this is the size of New Jersey, folks, New Jersey, and they're taking 2 kids, and 20,000 children a year are being taken. 80% are taken for profit, 20% are taken for needy. And I'm told by the ministry, well, it's better to take 1,000 children if we can save 1. But we know they're being beaten, drugged, raped, medicated, and sold. So It's not worth saving if you're going to take 999. Mickey, do you want to say hi?
Hi, Mike. How are you?
I'm doing fine. How are you?
Well, I'm okay, in matter of speaking. Let me introduce myself first for the followers and the listeners. My name is Miki Givati. I'm an attorney in Israel for almost a decade. In the last year, 2 years ago, I also been passing the American bar in New York. So okay. I license also in New York. My main practice, most of my professional job is actually juvenile law, family matters, domestic issues, and so. And during my, the people have to understand the process as it is to understand what is the problem of what's going on over there. As a lawyer who's been practicing in that specific area, it's not like in any issues when you come to court, open doors, everybody have the right to defend himself or to prove, and the burden of proof in civil cases, it's on the shoulder of the plaintiff.
Yeah.
And if it's in a criminal issues, it's on the burden of the state itself who prosecute you. But the rules and the game are clear. In juvenile court and in family matter, which all the hearings and the sessions is in beyond closed doors for the matter of the best interests of the child. But in juvenile, it's even more deep because the lawyer itself don't get even the protocols or any report from social services. So most of the time you need to face with a system that you come to represent the client to save his children that been taken from the welfare, by the welfare, I'm sorry, with nothing in your hand. Therefore, I was needed as a lawyer who've been practicing in that area to start gathering information and research about those organizations that involved in the issue of taking children. Okay. Now, if you have to understand in basics, in 2006, most of the social services in Israel, 90% of them been passed to a private hands. They're running by private organization. Now, the deal with the government was that the terms for doing that is that any organization will have to hire a social workers that is a state workers, and they budgeting 50% on any donations that they come privately. So what it happened, it's a big money laundering machine. Why? Because the social worker, which is representing the policy and the government and the welfare, are working or higher than a paycheck from the organization itself. Therefore, she all the time needs to recommend in front of court why this kid is needy, because as long as there will be more children in those institutions, the organization will get more money.
Yes.
We did a research of a calculation that per each child they get around $6,000 to $7,000 per head per month, and all the time the recommendation was to take kids out of the of their parents' custody.
Yes.
Now, I did a lot of research that exposing those corruption of shell companies that is running in New York, in Brooklyn, in Australia, in Canada, in United Kingdom, of donations that even don't reach to the place itself. The donation actually become they're fake donations that actually the money is actually come to the big pocket of the managers of those institutions.
Don't exist at all.
Now, what I wanted to say is just I was researching and get around 4 to 5 terabyte of information of a lot of corruption during the system, and that knowledge helped me to win a lot of cases that I need to deal. There's around maybe maximum 20 juvenile lawyer that practice in that area, because most of the lawyer as a private, as an independent, not a state lawyer, because of most of the lawyer or are afraid from the system itself, that been hunted by the system itself, or that the majority of people that they need to be represent are live in poverty. So, you know, financial issues, that's why the lawyers, I decided to do it as something that someone needs to do this stuff. And around 85 to 90% of the times, because of those researches that I needed to do to help my clients, I pretty much helped a lot of children to get a better deal. Some of them get out, some of them get a better foster family or whatever. But I can tell you for sure that 90% of children that been taken don't need to be taken.
Yes.
Now, and I'm telling you why I'm telling you this background, because that leads the government to a position that instead of fighting this corruption, because a year ago, one kid, American girl, little American girl, who's been held in an institute in Israel, been drugged, been probably get raped. She was running away a lot of time from the institute, and she was running to my home, and she didn't want to go back. and we took a film of her, and we filmed her where she described emotionally, very emotionally, a film of 35 minutes of what's going on inside the institution. And you have to understand, this is the first time ever evidence from a kid on a run of things that happening inside, because most of the time the social services are claimed that it's the best interest for the kid to be outside of his parents' custody, and now we got a clear evidence.
I'm going to tell you about this American girl. We actually put this on a YouTube channel in Texas called Victorous Libertas, and within 4 hours that channel with 1 million subscribers was gone.
Imagine my shock.
And a gag order was put on in Israel to stop anyone seeing it. You can still see it. I'll send you a link.
Thank you.
And that's why it was taken by the police to demand that this video was removed from the world.
Yeah. Now, since that video had released, and we actually sent a warning letter to the main founders, who is running by Lynn Schusterman in Oklahoma, to make them aware of where their money going, to which institution, and what is happening inside those institutions that so-called need to take care of those children. As Marianne just mentioned, instead of dealing with this problem, the video and the website itself fell down. I've been interrogated month after in the police of me keeping away from Marianne, or else.
Careful, Mike.
Yeah. And they actually mentioned me together with the bloggers trial, which is just mentioned in the beginning of this interview, which I didn't know the persons and the activists on those days. And pretty much I didn't take any consideration of things that might happen to me. I just did what I need to do as a lawyer, as a person, because, children need to be safe. And I was actually been have a no exit order on me, restriction that I with no any judgment that around it or any cause for it, just for a national security and stuff like this. A week after it been lifted. Anyway,
we started to get hounded, and he had his office hacked with 20 tracking devices, his car tracked. They're using Pegasus, which is the main spyware that they make, and they're used on the bloggers as well. We were followed all over the world.
Okay, Miriam and Michael, we need to take a break for commercials. Don't go anywhere.
Okay.
We'll come right back to you after these few words. Aloha, America. Welcome back to our show. We're talking with Miriam Aziz and her lawyer friend, Michael. We're talking about abuses of the child protective system in Israel, and we have a lot of the same abuses here in the United States, where basically the more children these child protective agencies can seize, the more money they get, and so they basically have a financial incentive to basically take kids away from their parents under the flimsiest of excuses.
Well, here's the problem. The people that have been locked up for criticizing the system, be it for children or not, it's written in the protocol that these people are worse than Hamas or ISIS, with an ideology of evil for criticizing public officials, and the worst people born on earth. Now, that's in a protocol. So this is the Middle East. And this is a country over there that claimed that, we're fighting all these terrorists, and they're describing their own people as worse than ISIS and Hamas.
Yes.
The worst people born on earth, and they should all be locked up. And this isn't just Mickey, it's anybody, people against the banks, the tax, the gas, the this, the that. It's rotten to the core. But apart from the issue of taking children, I want him to tell you what they've done to him as a result of his whistleblowing, and why he's a major target, and that's why I needed to come on and talk to you. What have they done to you, Bullet Bite? It's horrible, horrible.
Well, it's a long story, so I will try to do bullet points on this, right? As just for a headline, as she said, Morianne, there's no real non-government organization in Israel, right? There's no watchdogs that can criticize the system, and to help to secure, which is basically the only country in the world that does not exist. Therefore, when a person been hunted or his rights been violated by the government, he had no one to turn to, and this is amazing. Now, as for me, I was continuing my job. I didn't take any care about those threats and stuff I need to provide. I'm a father of 5 beautiful children, and at June 2018, I started my own divorce process. And, as a systematic way from that moment, everything collapsed. But it's not just the domestic issue that were difficult. You can see so clear how much the system more interfere with this issue until it's been reached to a level that it's beyond your imagination. And I will try to do it short, but it's a horror scene for me.
Yeah.
The moment I decided to divorce, and 2 hours after, I found myself in 15 different accusations in the police for being a violent man, got a restraining order. I even been interrogated of beating my own dog. And when my only sin is just ask a divorce from my wife. The day after, I got a restriction of not leaving the country, which I needed to deposit almost $250,000 shekel, which is equivalent to around $70,000 to $80,000 deposit in courts. So it will give me the ability to travel abroad. But it didn't end this, because, most of the divorce process started with this violent act stuff, which 90% of divorce fathers needs to be falsely accused. And you cannot prosecute a woman for a false claim. This is up in almost any time in any start of a divorce process, so I didn't take any consideration for this. Anyway, we discovered that all the database that I did collect, and I just said at the beginning of my interview, for the last 10 years has been hacked, stolen, stuff in my computer been taken, my car was being tracked, my house been tapped, and I've been followed. People been watching and filming every action that I did, which is really, it's unrelated to any divorce process. Any 5 minutes I've been called to the police to give I've been interrogated for anything, even for paying the bills. So I decided to keep away. I was outside of the country for a while. When I returned, they decided to take my children over financial abuse, as they said. It doesn't matter that they were living in a luxury villa with a 40,000 shekel, which is equivalent to $12,000 each month, that been paid. They were taken to another shell company that's running a beaten woman shelter.
Okay, Mike, I got to put you on hold again. We got to take another break for commercials. We'll be right back. Aloha, America. Welcome back to our show. We're talking with Miriam Azizi. We're talking with her friend Michael, who's a lawyer. And Mike, you were telling us they literally took your kids away, claiming that they suffered from financial abuse.
Yes, they've been taken for too much money. The mother actually been claimed that she have not enough money for shopping. Anyway, the children been taken to this institution. 5 children from 4 to 12. They've been starving them. They eat a spoon of rice and water each day. No books, no television, nothing. Even my two big boys trying to run away. I managed by myself to rescue them after 44 days of terror. But
Yeah.
I succeed to do it. The children is out, thank God. And since that moment, the interrogation in the police continue non-stop. No one to turn to, nothing to do. And this organization start to hunt me personally just because they're afraid that I will shut them down. Anyway, I nowhere to go, so I decided together with Marianne to expose that problem, because the money that funding those organizations actually come from United States, from Britain, from all over Europe, and places like this needs to be shut down. So I decided to go with her to the UN, which are whistleblower, as they call it, and expose my personal issue as an example of how this system camouflage fraudery activity and money laundering over kids and parents back. And since that moment I just did it, the UN people expressed their deep concern about this situation, and actually right now in these moments when I'm talking with you, I with a lot of concern of going back actually to Israel because I haven't I believe that I will gonna be interrogated again and probably will be arrested like the bloggers trial. Even the UN people actually expressed their concern of me personally being taken down. So this is in bullet points of stuff that really happening. I'm sure that Marianne will add more details of stuff that I just forget to say. But if you have any questions, something that you want to ask me, I'm all here.
Wow. There's two things that I'll add and then ask anything you want, Mike. One is that we found out about a new elite force, because everyone's heard of Mossad, they're all old hat now, called Serena. And it's an elite police force that actually tag you, put a little box every day on the computer, and if a public official or anyone wants to target you, they just press an alarm button, and in 120 seconds you're taken down by the cops. And he's one of those special guests on the Serena program, and they profile everybody in order to work out how to hurt them the most. So his was juvenile, so that's where his kids are. Mine is my friends and family. So my friends and family in England have been hunted down, and they've named me as a cyber terrorist wanted by the state of Israel. Believe it or not.
Well, I believe it, but it definitely sounds like there's a huge amount of institutionalized harassment going on there, basically to silence critics of the government.
Yeah. Radical feminist groups and lobbies are working very hard on this, because dismantling the family is a radical feminist movement.
Yeah, we're seeing, unfortunately, attacks on the family here in the United States as well. And I don't know that it's so much the radical feminists as part of this whole globalist destroy your identity, get you confused about who you are. We're going through all this transgender nonsense over here in the U.S.
Yeah.
You know, what bathrooms you're supposed to use and so forth. But it all seems to be part of a plan to just get us confused about who we are, make us forget who we are, make us forget our culture, make us forget our history, detach us from our families in order to better control us.
Well, the freedom of speech issues are still big. There's still over 1 million people trapped in Israel, and the Americans, believe it or not, are getting the worst thing. I will tell one thing about the research. When an American decides that they want to move over, and if they have children, then the welfare in Israel immediately tag them, and we've got evidence that 80% of Americans are under surveillance when they move to Israel. And Mickey takes a lot of cases for Americans who've landed there, and one family had their children taken within 24 hours. And he gets all the Americans. We've got an American there now who's a Brooklyn guy, married in Brooklyn, family live in Brooklyn. She went over to Israel, and he's been there 15 months in Israel with no reason other than she wants a divorce, so she thought she'd do it there, and she went home. Now, we've got so many trapped people over there, and the profiling is always to get you at your weakest place. Now, this is so sophisticated because, with all due respect to the Palestinians, of which I do know, a lot of them anyway, because they help Israelis, it's a smokescreen for what they're actually doing to the Israeli people. And that's why it's so complicated. Because everyone hates Israel. If they hate Israel, they hate the Israelis, and it's not fair because they don't want to do this stuff to the Israeli people. And it's very hard. Now, he can't go back. He does have an arrest warrant on him. He's also got certain information that says that he's committed treason.
How has he committed treason?
By going outside and appealing to an international body like the blogger that I introduced you to before was taken down by the Attorney General for giving information to the United Nations.
Okay, so going to the UN is now considered an act of treason by the government of Israel.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, it is. It is if you go in on internal matters. If you go in on territorial or women's rights or Bedouins, and that's fine because that's all paid for by the government. Every NGO is paid for, and some of the funders are the ones that are funding the people we're trying to expose. So we can't go to those people. The Israelis themselves have not got a single individual to go to, and we've got that confirmed by the new Zehut party, who will get some seats, who are saying there's nowhere to go. So that's why 300 children a year are killing themselves there, as young as 9, with nowhere to go. 300 men, 300 kids are achieving suicide, and the amount that try is even higher. And the ministries have come back and said, well, we have no funding for men. None.
Okay.
So tough. So it's a bad situation, and right now Mickey's life is at huge risk.
Well, that's a very, very bad situation to be in. Where are your kids right now, Mike?
Scotland.
No.
Your kids.
My kids is with their mom, supervised by and monitored by the welfare, by an ex-Shabak social worker. They are in the custody right now in their mom's hands in their home. But they didn't let me to go to work and to provide, and they hunted me on a daily basis, and which I didn't have the chance to work, so I had to put an end to this. So I just, because there's no actual body that I can complain, I decided to go to a bigger body, which is the UN. And now I need to feel ashamed of using my freedom of speech to expose problem that many afraid to talk about or don't know well about outside of Israel.
That's right.
And right now I find myself being hunted by my own state, being exiled, and afraid to go back to see my own children, which I did say a few months ago, just because I want to end this horror.
You can't.
And you have to understand that my main clients that I'm dealing with, it's a high targeted clients that being also, as she said, the person about the database collection is my clients. People and father, I have a father named Roni Kashi, for example, which he didn't see 4.5 years, his own child, just on a connection center since the day he's born. Why? Because the woman said so. And he have a lot of followers after him, and just because he protesting on the street about this thing is danger to society. He's not able to see his kids, and only 4 hours a month. And I've been represent those type of people, and I myself began targeted. So you can see a pattern that if you cannot deal with the lawyer that actually win the system because he know how it's work inside in the procedures, so they take him down, the lawyer itself. So
we've lost 3 to suicide, 3 exiled, and 1 currently that was in prison and tortured in prison. Tortured. I can't believe I'm saying this about Israel.
I know I just said stuff that blow the mind of a lot of people, because I know there is a lot of good people in Israel and outside of Israel, especially I believe your listeners, that don't really believe stuff that are saying, because the state of Israel represent themselves as the a place for democracy. The only democracy is the biggest allies for the United States and stuff like this, which I do believe is right. But people have to understand that beyond all this smoke screen, the people inside, especially fathers in the divorce process, or all the issue that related to the welfare system, is rotten to the ground. Now, it's not really different what's happening in the United States. I just read an article today that police in Arizona, the Chandler Police Department, just knocked down the family's door, taking their kids in overnight ride because their mom didn't follow doctor orders for a child with fever.
Yes.
And all the 3 children. And all the 3 children that were inside been taken from their parents to a foster families. So this welfare issue is a global corruption, but in Israel specifically, if you go, it's a big crime. Not only the welfare crimes, is a crimes to expose and speak about it.
Yes.
This is the issue. And right now, I found myself as a lawyer, try to protect others, try to fight to protect himself. Why? Because I think I do the right thing. I use my mouth and use my brain.
Oh, you can criticize everybody in America because of your, First Amendment, Second.
Yes.
But to use the Patriot Act to pull down people who speak out is disgusting.
We're starting to see that. We're starting to see deplatforming issues. We're starting to see where people with a conservative point of view, pro-family point of view, are being erased from social media. And so it's starting to get really ugly here as well. But turning back over to Israel, again, we know that part of the problem is that these child protective services, the more children they grab, the more money they get. And so they have a financial motive to just grab children on the flimsiest of excuses. We have that same problem here in the United States of America. And you're absolutely right about what happened in Arizona. It was, I think, a 2-year-old boy. The mother had called the doctor. The doctor said, bring the child in. But then the fever started to go down. And the mother said, I guess we don't need to take him in. And the doctor calls the SWAT team on him. And they kick down the door. They grab the 2-year-old. They grab all 3 of the kids. They're in foster care right now. And it's all about the money. It's all about grabbing more money.
Yeah, but here's the issue, Mike. You, as American citizens, with the freedom of speech, can talk it out loud in your radio show. I'm not. You can expose it in blogs or in any article, and it will be all over the news. No one come to you as the one who signed the flag, waving the flag on this. I cannot.
Nobody in Israel's allowed
I
to
cannot.
Nobody can.
This is the main thing. There is crime all over the world with this radical feminist issue and with the welfare system that is destroying the family unit to pieces. All right, I just know now that the Indian law become with laws that actually allowing to take in children as a tool from any family as they want. But you have the right to say it and speak it out loud. For me, it's way different.
just to also, a movie was made a couple of years ago with me, a documentary from an Eastern European director. I'll give you the site. It's noexitorder.com. Before that was due to be released, he was poisoned on the other side of the world. And it was the only documentary to come out, or will come out, it's not out yet, in English, about the judicial corruption and what's going on in there. And I mean, he spent 3 months in bed. The site is packed with lawyers and details about the corruption in Israel. Most of the people who were on the videos are in jail. That's the difference.
Boy,
and nobody knows it.
Okay, so that's no exit order?
Noexitorder.com. It's packed with details. What you don't hear about, what you hear about all over the world, you won't hear about in Israel unless I put it out there. That's why they'd quite like to see the end of me, very much. And to be hunted and have millions spent on you to denigrate you as a terrorist is a step too far. I mean, we're just trying to save a few lives. But I'm the only one writing out what I see on the ground in the videos of kids and fathers and mums and judges. I publish everything. Everything that's going on in Israel, I'll get out in English. And they actually wrote that they're looking for a final solution for me in somebody else's protocol. They're looking for a final solution. But I'm not going to stop. But and Mickey loves Israel. He was born and bred there, and he was very loyal. But when the country betrays you and hunts you to your death, very hard.
All right, well, listen, we have to take one more break for a commercial. So the last commercial break of the program today. We'll be back with the last segment of our program after these few words. And aloha, America. Welcome back to the last segment of our program. Today here we're talking with Marianne Azizi and her lawyer friend Mike, who are describing conditions as they actually are inside the state of Israel. And of course, part of the problem is that Israel doesn't exactly have a constitution, let alone a Bill of Rights. The laws are just whatever the government says they are from moment to moment. And apparently criticizing any aspect of the government of Israel is a tacky no-no that can get you into a lot of trouble.
If you criticize politically and call everybody 10 times worse than a cop, that's okay. But if you criticize a public official non-politically, that lands you in jail. That's the key. So you can't. I know a guy who was arrested just for saying I don't agree to a social worker. And you know, the blogger who's in jail for without trial for exposing the sexual antics of the head of the bar, although he's been indicted, she's still facing trial for exposing it 2 years beforehand.
Well, that sounds like a really kind of a messed up system there. But again, we're seeing more and more of a pushback to end freedom of speech here in the United States by people who don't like to be criticized. We know that Israel is lobbying very hard to end the First Amendment with regards to criticism of Israel and support for the boycott, divestment, and sanctions movement. And what's really alarming is just how many state legislatures have already gone along with this nonsense.
There are, I mean, I know a lot of people, I know a lot of Americans, and I know it's bad over there. They're taking one child every 30 seconds in Israel. So per head, and they only take, as a rule, 99.9% of Jewish children, not anyone else. The conviction rate in Israel is 99.9%. That's very high for a democracy, 99.9% conviction rate, which is also very bad. Women are protected by law for lying. The unique aspect as well is the fact that children 6 and under by law cannot go to the father, no matter what. The cover-ups are just across the country for everything, and we're sitting in Scotland with a woman right now called Julie Pearson, whose niece was, the girl is called Julie Pearson, Deborah's niece, was murdered in Eilat, and there's a complete cover-up for 4 years on this murder. And it just goes on and on and on across the board. Tax authority, gas, banks. So the point is that you're not allowed to complain.
Yes.
And I don't think America's quite there, but Israel's been there for a long time. And it's a big ghetto for people, and it's a 5-star one, but they can't get out. Now, if you can't pay your child support, for example, they'll take your driving license, your passport, your bank account, your right to be self-employed, your freedom, and lock you up 3 weeks every month. So and you can't see your kids. So how are you supposed to get through that?
Well, it sounds like it's a really messed up system. And by the way, I just got an email from somebody up in Canada who says that access to noexitorder.com is being blocked up in Canada. So we'll see what's going to happen with there. Anyway, we're out of time. Marianne and Michael, thank you very much for spending the last hour with us. You are basically portraying a nightmare situation. Stay tuned for John Stadmiller. I'm sure he's got lots of interesting things to share with you. And we'll be back tomorrow. Donate to Republic Broadcasting. Please donate to whatreallyhappened.com. Aloha, America.